How's it going? So in this video here, we're going to be talking about the cells of immunity. And basically, we're going to break down the immune system into its different component parts and see how these different types of cells work together. And so first, we want to break down the immune system into two different sections, our innate and our adaptive. So our innate is going to be our non-specific. So these cells that the innate system is going to produce are going to be cells that can fight against various types of infections or bacteria. They're not going to have a specific type of antigen that they're trying to attack. Whereas our adaptive cells are going to be cells that are going to want to attack one different type of cell, bacterial cell, or infection. And so our innate are going to be cells like our basophils, our eosinophils, our neutrophils. And so these are going to be able to fight against different types of bacterial infections. Whereas for our adaptive, we're going to have our B cells and our T cells. And these are going to be specific types of cells that fight against specific types of bacteria. And so we have a very important type of cell that's going to be acting as a communication barrier between our innate and our adaptive, and that's going to be known as our macrophage. And so our macrophage is going to be very important in communicating our non-specific and our specific, and we'll get into that in a second. What does a macrophage do? Well, macrophages, as we talked about earlier, are very important in communicating between our innate and our adaptive immune system. And so we can think of our macrophage as this huge cell that likes to engulf things. And so this is our macrophage here. And in blue, I'm going to draw a bacterial cell that has gone into our body. So imagine these as bacterial cells that have gone into our body, but now our macrophage is here. It's going to save the day. And so what our macrophage is going to do is it's going to endocytose, or take in this bacteria. So it's going to take in this bacteria, and it's going to put it into this vesicle known as a phagosome. And so this phagosome is going to contain this bacteria that we've endocytosed. And so our macrophage is a typical cell in our body, and so it's going to have a nucleus, and I'll just draw it there. It's going to have a lysosome. It's going to have an ER, endoplasmic reticulum. And so the lysosome, as we know, is going to contain hydrolytic enzymes. It's going to want to break down things inside our cells. And so for the macrophage, this lysosome is going to combine with our phagosome into this new vesicle here known as a phagolysosome. And it's going to take these hydrolytic enzymes and it's going to break down our bacterial protein into little peptides. And these are known as epitopes. And these are just small little peptides that have been broken down by our hydrolytic enzymes. And so now our ER is going to produce a very important protein that not all cells produce. And this is going to be known as our MHC2 protein, major histocompatibility class 2 protein. So this protein is going to be very important, and you'll see how in just a sec. And I forgot to draw it. So there it is. So now our phagolysosome and our MHC2 protein are going to combine together, and they're going to load this MHC2 protein with our peptide or epitope. So now we're going to have that epitope loaded onto our MHC2 protein, and this MHC2 protein is now going to take this epitope and it's going to take it to the outside surface of our cell. And so now we're going to have this epitope on the outside of our cell, at the outside of our macrophage. So now this macrophage is going to be known as an antigen, a professional antigen presenting cell. So what does that mean? Well, basically, now this macrophage has turned into this antigen presenting cell, and it's going to take this antigen loaded on the outside of its body to all of our germinal regions. So that could be the lymph node, that could be our Peyer's patches, that could be our tonsils. And so now we're going to take this antigen and we're going to take it to our different T cells, and we're going to say, hey, do you recognize this cell? And if the T cells are saying, no, that's an invader cell, we don't want that in our body, the T cell is going to destroy this peptide. And so basically that's how our macrophage is going to be communicating between our innate and our adaptive immune system. It's going to recognize any different type of bacteria, it's going to take that bacteria in, it's going to break it down into its little peptide components, it's going to produce this MHC2 protein, and then it's going to load the peptides onto the MHC2 protein, load that antigen or peptide onto the surface of our cell, and take it around to our T cells, which we know are our adaptive cells. And from there, the adaptive T cells can either kill it if it needs to. And so that's basically how the macrophage works.